Control of noise at work. Objectives: to provide a basic awareness of the main requirements concerning the control of noise regulations, to provide information on the health hazards and control measures associated with noise exposure at work. Legislation came into force in Northern Ireland on the 6th of April 2006. 2 million people exposed to noise at work, which may be harmful to health. 1.1 million people relying on PPE to prevent harm, and 500,000 people with hearing loss due to noise at work. The Control of Noise at Work Regulations 2005 came into force for all industry sectors in Great Britain on the 6th of April 2006, except for the music and entertainment sectors where they came into force on the 6th of April 2008. The aim of the noise regulations is to ensure that workers' hearing is protected from excessive noise at their place of work, which could cause them to lose their hearing and or to suffer from tinnitus, which is a permanent ringing in the ears. The Control of Noise at Work Regulations 2005 replaced the Noise at Work Regulations 1989. Definition of noise-induced hearing loss. Noise-induced hearing loss is a hearing impairment resulting from exposure to loud sound. Loud sound overstimulates delicate hearing cells, leading to the permanent injury or death of the cells. This pie chart shows different means of hearing loss. 27% is age-related, 33% is noise-related, 16% is other, 20% is caused by infection, and 4% people were born with hearing loss. So what is the definition of noise? Noise means any audible sound. Exposure limit value means the level of daily permissible exposure limit or weekly exposure limit. Peak frequency weighted sound pressure level definition is the greatest instantaneous value of a standard frequency weighted sound pressure level within a stated time interval, also known as the peak sound level, set out in Regulation 4, which must not be exceeded. Peak sound pressure means the maximum sound pressure to which an employee is exposed. A and C weighting. The response of the human ear varies with the sound level. At higher levels, 100 decibels and above, the ear's response is flatter as shown in the C-weighted response to the right. Although the A-weighted response is used for most applications, C-weighting is also available on many sound level meters. Definitions. Lower exposure action value is the lower of the two levels or of a peak pressure. So the lowest level for the A-weighted is 80 decibels, and for the C-weighted, a peak sound pressure of 135 decibels. Noise at or above a lower exposure action value. Employers shall take action to reduce or control, so far as reasonably practicable, noise levels, or shall make personal hearing protectors available to any employee who is so exposed. The upper exposure action value, which is the higher of two levels of exposure or of a peak sound pressure. 85 decibels is the A-weighted, and a peak sound pressure of 137 decibels or C-weighted. Action at the upper exposure value. Noise at or above the upper exposure action value. Reduce so far as is reasonably practicable, or provide personal hearing protectors to any employee who is exposed. Designate area as a protection zone and the area to be identified by signs. Exposure limit maximum value. 87 decibels of daily exposure or 140 decibels of peak noise to which an employer must take into account the effects of wearing hearing protection and which must not be exceeded. So how loud is too loud? Noise-induced hearing damage is related to the duration and volume of exposure. Government research suggests a safe exposure limit is 85 decibels for 8 hours a day. Some common decibel levels are as follows: raindrops 40 decibels, normal conversation 60 decibels, busy city traffic 85 decibels, hair dryers 90 decibels, rock concerts 105 decibels, chainsaws 110 decibels, an iPod at peak volumes 115 decibels, jackhammers 120 decibels, and a gunshot or fireworks 140 decibels. Health surveillance. There is a specific requirement to provide health surveillance where there is a risk to hearing. Health surveillance is a system of ongoing health checks. These health checks may be required by law for employees who are exposed to noise or vibration, ionizing radiation, solvents, fumes, dusts, biological agents, and other substances hazardous to health or work in compressed air. Information, instruction and training. Regulation 10. Where employees are exposed to noise which is likely to be at or above the lower exposure action value, the employer shall provide those employees and their representatives with suitable and sufficient information, instruction and training. Information would normally include the nature of risks from exposure to noise, the organisational and technical measures taken in order to comply with the requirements of Regulation 6, the exposure limit values upper and lower set out in Regulation 4, the significant findings of the risk assessment, including any measurements taken with an explanation of those findings, the availability and provision of personal hearing protectors and their correct use, and how to detect and report signs of hearing damage. So, managing noise. Firstly, we assess. We assess to protect the employees and we use our hierarchy of controls. We also maintain and use our equipment correctly and then review if necessary. Also, when we assess, we use information, instruction, training, including consultation, and we provide health surveillance for employees and again review as necessary. Results of exposure to noise. Health effects. Exposure to high levels of noise can cause permanent hearing loss. Loud noise can create physical and psychological stress, reduce productivity, interfere with communication and concentration, and contribute to workplace accidents and injuries by making it difficult to hear warning signals. Effects of noise-induced hearing loss. NIHL caused by acute acoustic trauma refers to permanent cochlear damage from a one-time exposure to excessive sound pressure. This form of NIHL commonly results from exposure to high-intensity sounds such as explosions, gunfire, a large drum hit loudly, and firecrackers. Gradually developing NIHL refers to permanent cochlear damage from repeated exposure to loud sounds over a period of time. Unlike acoustic trauma, this form of NIHL does not occur from a single exposure to a high-intensity sound pressure level. Gradually developing NIHL can be caused by multiple exposures to excessive noise in the workplace or any source of repetitive, frequent exposures to sounds of excessive volume such as home and vehicle stereos, concerts, nightclubs, and personal media players. About 22 million workers are exposed to hazardous noise, with additional millions exposed to solvents and metals that could put them at increased risk for hearing loss. Occupational hearing loss is one of the most common occupational diseases. 49% of male miners have hearing loss by the age of 50. By the age of 60, this number goes up to 70%. Construction workers also suffer an elevated risk. A screening program focused on construction workers employed at US Department of Energy facilities found 58% with significant abnormal hearing loss due to noise exposures at work. Occupational hearing loss is present in up to 33% of workers overall. Occupational exposure to noise causes 16% of adult disabling hearing loss worldwide. Tinnitus. Tinnitus is the name for hearing noises that aren't caused by an outside source. It's not usually a sign of any serious conditions and generally improves over time. There are treatments that can help. Tinnitus can sound like a ringing, buzzing, whooshing, humming, hissing, throbbing, music or singing noise. You may hear these sounds in one or both ears or in your head. They may come and go, or you might hear them all the time. Noise is transmitted in different ways. It can be directly through the air, it can be reflected from surfaces, or it could be transmitted through structure. Noise control. Examples of hearing protection. Picture 1. Disposable reduction of up to 33 decibels varies between individuals. Picture 2, which is a custom fit, we have a 31 decibel reduction, which is more consistent. Number 3, reduction of up to 30 decibels can be worn with other earplugs. And number 4, our custom fit with filter, as noise increases, more reduction, 19 decibel reduction. Noise control methods. We have a selection of equipment and alternative methods. We can have a location of source, distance, maintenance of machinery and lagging, dampening, silencers, enclose noise, isolate operator, insulating barriers and screens, absorption panels, minimize the exposure time, work outside of normal hours, and PPE hearing protection. Candidates should now be aware of the main requirements on control of noise regulations and be able to provide information on the health hazards and control measures associated with noise exposure at work. Thank you for your time and attention from the team at the CITB. A more comprehensive course on noise at work is available either on site or on the mobile training unit. Please contact the CITB office for more information.